Good evening, friends. Well, we've made it to another Tuesday together, and I want to share a few thoughts with you tonight about experiencing burnout during our current season of life. And I want to talk a little bit about how to experience and practice having a Sabbath right now. So, my newest phrase in my life currently is I'm all zoomed out. So last Thursday, I was on Zoom for 8 hours, and the day before that for 4. And then I was on Facebook Live doing either devotions or church related things for many more hours than that throughout the week. And that was just my work life. So in my non work time, I've certainly found myself watching more shows, watching the news definitely a whole lot more than I used to before COVID. And if I'm going to be completely honest and transparent with you tonight, I downloaded TikTok yesterday and I can't seem to stop swiping. Now, if you're my age or older and you don't know what TikTok is, I'll explain that to you another time. So I've heard a lot of people, my staff mates and others in my life, saying they're also zoomed out as our church has gone to online formats for life groups and church. And of course, many of you are working from home and using online meetings, and school for yourself or your children is at home. And your socializing might be online right now as well. So I think with everything going on, we're starting to feel a sense of burnout. And this burnout we're experiencing might be more like a soul fatigue. We've got anxiety and stress just from what's happening in the world, from losing connections that are in person connections that really gave us life. And many of us who have developed good practices in our lives to map out time away from work and away from school and away from screens to decompress, all those things might have disappeared right now. So maybe we need to be thinking about how we can experience Sabbath in our lives right now in this new place that we're experiencing. And Sabbath, if you're not familiar with it, is really downtime that refreshes our soul and helps us fuel up for the rest of our life and what we have to do. So, if the idea of Sabbath is something that might be foreign to you, let me just tell you a little bit about what Sabbath is in the scriptures. So, we read in Genesis 2, Genesis 2, verse 3. So God blessed the seventh day and made it holy, because on it God rested from all his work that he had done in creation. So up until this point in the timeline of events, God had been creating everything. He made the universe, the earth, the lights in the sky, all the planets. He formed the oceans and the mountains and all the living creatures on the earth, and he created us, humans, male and female. And then the scriptures tell us that God rested from all his labors. Now, God didn't need to rest. He's all powerful, but it's more than just power. God didn't need to rest, but he does. Why? I think it's to reveal to us mortal human beings the reality that we have to rest on a regular basis too. Rest is not optional. And the idea of a day of rest after 6 days of labor, having a day of rest, a 24-hour period where we say we are human, we are finite, we are created, we are not the creator, and we have to depend on God and rest in him to be strong and able to do all the rest of the things in our life. So God calls us to substantially rest from normal activity we do 6 days out of the week so that one day a week we can experience life for our souls. Now, Jesus invites us into a rhythm of life as well in the New Testament. And I love this invitation that we read about in Matthew 11, verses 28 to 30. And I'm going to read this from the Message translation of the Bible. It says, "Are you tired, worn out, burned out on religion? Come to me, get away with me, and you'll recover your life. I'll show you how to take a real rest. Walk with me and work with me. Watch how I do it. Learn the unforced rhythms of grace. I won't lay anything heavy or ill-fitting on you. Keep company with me, and you'll learn to live freely and lightly." This is a wonderful invitation that Jesus invites us into. And he tells us that we will learn how to rest by watching how he does it. Now, in the Gospels, we see Jesus had a pattern in how he did his life. We read about all the wonderful ministry and preaching and teaching he did when we read the Gospel stories. But we also are shown in the Gospels that Jesus took time away to rest, to sleep, to pray, to hang out with his smaller group of friends. And then he'd go back to his work, to his ministry. He knew that time away from a regular routine was necessary to live our lives fully. Now, we need that too. So with all of us being forced home right now, and perhaps home being the very place where you experienced a sense of rest, this upside down time has messed with your rhythms. So our homes have also become our places of work, a place of school for ourselves or our kids. And it's also become our church too. It's where we watch church on Sunday morning. It might be where we do our life group on the computer during the week. And it's all gotten very complicated and mixed together. And so I'm wondering if you might have been feeling the same way that I have, that life and my rhythms that were set up to give me rest and to refresh my soul have sort of slipped away. And perhaps all the parts of your life are now intruding on your normal rhythms, and they're getting all mixed together. And I think we have to be really creative right now to find a rhythm that gives our souls time to be refreshed. And I'm going to be honest with you, I don't know exactly what that looks like right now for myself, but I do know I've been seeking it and needing it and longing for it. And as I've prayed and been asking God how this might look, knowing it's going to look completely different than it would in a normal time and a normal season, here are a few of the things that I've been thinking about that I'm going to try to help rejuvenate my soul, because I am missing my Sabbath practices. So, because much of my life is consumed with a screen right now, for me, making a change to my screen time is going to be an important part of having a Sabbath. This may not be what you need to do. These are things that I feel God is leading me in developing a different rhythm right now. So on Monday and Saturdays, I'm going to practice Sabbath by unplugging from Zoom. I'm not going to schedule any Zoom meetings on Mondays or Saturdays. And on Mondays, I'm going to stay off of Facebook for anything that's work related. And then on Saturday afternoons, I'm going to be able to do that as well once I'm done with some of the things that help church happen on Sunday. I think that's going to help with my zoomed out feeling and give me a little bit of restoration so I can regroup for my work week. And then for me, I also need to limit the time I'm watching the news. I love to be informed. I love to know what's happening. I like to watch the live press conferences, but they're really long. and they consume my time, they consume my mind, often my emotional energy as well. So I'm going to limit my news watching to 30 minutes a day. And I'm not going to be able to watch those live press conferences if I'm limiting myself to that amount of time. I can always read about what has happened the day after or later in the day. But I think that will give me some life-giving time and some emotional rejuvenation if I'm not watching nonstop news shows. And then I thought the thing I want to keep doing right now in this season is playing games with the kids in my house and the adults. We've had a wonderful practice during these weeks of sitting down together and playing games, and I love that. And I'm super aware that when restrictions are lifted and sports are able to happen again, that practice is probably going to go away, or it's at least going to go away to the same extent we're able to do it right now. So I want to enjoy every moment of that. And then the sun is out some days, the weather is getting a little warmer, and I want to enjoy the sunshine because it does really give me a sense of well-being. So I want to make sure that I am unplugging and sitting on the deck, reading a book, doing whatever will allow me to sit in the sunshine and soak up that vitamin D that we're so deprived of here in Minnesota. So think about it for yourself. What are some of the ways that you can find to practice a rhythm of rest and rejuvenation in your life, even during this crazy time? And I want to encourage you, it is probably not going to look anything like it does in your normal life, your normal routine. Some of you have no way to get away from your kids right now. And so you might have to find a practice that you can do when they're in bed. Or maybe your rhythm that will refresh your soul might be something you do with your children, like the game playing, but it's going to be something different than the normal routine. Anything that can get us out of the normal routine and give us a spark of life, of happiness, of joy, or refreshment is the kind of rhythm I'm encouraging you to explore. So think about what are some of the things you can do to refresh your soul right now with what we have to work with in this moment. There's no pressure that it has to be time away by yourself. Within what you can do right now, I encourage you to ask God to help you unplug if that's helpful. Or for you, it might be adding something, maybe watching a show by yourself or with your spouse after the kids are in bed, or exactly the kind of thing you need to plug into. But something that will give you life and refresh your tired soul. I want to just close by reading these verses again from Matthew chapter 11. And I want you to close your eyes if you can, or just listen to the invitation that Jesus is giving all of us tonight. Are you tired? Are you worn out? Are you burned out on religion? Come to me. Get away with me, and you'll recover your life. I'll show you how to take a real rest. Walk with me and work with me. Watch how I do it. Learn the unforced rhythms of grace. I won't lay anything heavy or ill-fitting on you. Keep company with me, and you'll learn to live freely and lightly. Let's pray. Lord, I pray for my friends tonight. I pray for everyone listening to this devotion now or when they may listen later. Lord, that you will give them this invitation in a personal way that's unique for each one of them. That you will invite them, Lord, into these unforced rhythms of grace, and that it will not feel like a burden, it will not feel like an obligation, it will not feel like pressure, but Lord, that every person will hear from you an invitation into what rest and a rhythm of grace looks like for their life right now. And Jesus, I pray a blessing on each person today, that they would receive from you your perfect rest, your perfect love, your mercy and grace for all that has to happen in life right now. In the busyness of homes with children, in the busyness of a different way of doing work and a different way of doing church life, Jesus, would you meet us? And would you show us how to do it? And would you show us how to help and encourage each other as we learn to rest in this season? I pray this in your holy name, Jesus. Amen. I pray that you will go in peace right now, friends, that you will have a good, restful evening, and that you will sleep and wake up tomorrow refreshed for a new day. I love you and miss you. Bye-bye.